Welcome to the Matt Phillips Podcast. I am Matt Phillips, your sales leadership coach, mental toughness expert, and founder of Matt Phillips Coaching. We help sales managers and leaders make more money, save time, and become kick-ass leaders of their sales teams. And that's what we're here to talk about on this podcast. We are here to give you the tools and tactics to build a well-oiled sales machine and teach you the mental toughness skills so you can show up confident, focused, emotionally in control, and ready to energize your team. It's time to talk sales leadership and mental toughness. Let's get into today's episode. It is brain hack time. It is Matt Phillips back with you on today's podcast. Thank you so much for taking your time as usual. And I was actually just got done with a speech. I just got done with a group of high school hockey players, and I introduced the concept both in the speech and with these hockey players, and I wanted to introduce it to you because as you're going to hear me talk about, right? Yes, I'm a leadership coach. I also love the mental toughness side, right? The mindset piece, and we integrate that into what we do from a leadership perspective, but you have to understand that you are way more powerful than you think, than you give yourself credit for. And the power that you have within your brain and your body, you have to understand how to start utilizing that, how to leverage that into what you're doing to help you become a better mother, father, uncle, aunt, business person, sales leader, whatever it might be. It's understanding the power that you have within you. And that's why this concept today it just gets me fired up and excited. And I'm probably talking faster than I normally do on this podcast. And no, you don't have it on like 1.5 speed. If you do, boy, am I really talking fast when you're listening to this podcast. But man, we're so powerful, so powerful. And I could go on to, I could spend hours on this topic alone. But I want to talk about one thing in particular, one part of your brain that if you haven't heard of this, you need to start studying and leveraging it, because I'll share a couple examples of how it's helped me and how it can absolutely help you. But here's what I want to talk about. This part of your brain, it's called the reticular activating system. Now, I don't know who've heard of this. I'll call it the RAS, R-A-S from now on, but reticular activating system. But it sits right at the base of your brain, and it is the filter between your subconscious and conscious mind. Now, I joked with the high school athletes when I was doing this topic. I said, you didn't know you were going to science class today, did you? Well, guess what? We are in science class, and it's going to take a few minutes, but let's start leveraging the power of the brain and the body. And that's what this RAS is all about. So if you're having flashbacks to like high school science class, sorry about that. But it'll be worth it, I promise. So I imagine you've probably heard of the subconscious and conscious mind before, right? Well, the subconscious mind, there's lots of stuff going on that you're just not aware of right now, right? So all these sights, sounds, everything going on around you is coming into your brain, which is going into your subconscious mind. Now, you are consciously focused on this podcast right now, or if you're driving, I hope you're focused on podcast and driving. But that aside, you have lots of stuff going on in your brain, but then you're consciously focused on something right now. Well, if you look at the data behind it, I find this fascinating, that the subconscious mind can bring in about 40 million bits of data per second. Okay, so maybe that's a lot, maybe that's a little, like, let's provide context. 40 million bits in the subconscious mind. The conscious mind can handle 40 bits of data per second. Now, that's a massive difference, right? 40 million bits of data per second in the subconscious to 40. Huge difference. Well, so how do we know what to focus on? How do we know what to bring to our conscious mind? That's the job of the RAS. And the RAS, the reticular activating system, is driven by two things. One is where you put your intention. And two is your belief systems, like what you believe to be true. So let me give you a couple examples. I imagine, like by show of hands, how many here have purchased a car at some point in their life? Right? I imagine everyone's hands going up right now. Great. Doesn't matter if it's new car, used car, whatever. You've probably purchased a car at some point. Now, was your process the same as mine? So my process is I pick out the type of car that I want to purchase, right? And maybe it's a Ferrari, maybe it's the Maserati. I don't know, maybe it's a Ford Pinto. I don't know. I don't know if those exist anymore. But you pick out the type of car that you want before you buy it, right? And then you go search in the lots, all that sort of stuff. But have you had this experience? Like when you decide the type of car that you want, what do you start seeing everywhere? Right? That car, right? You've had this experience, right? Maybe it's with a car or a bike, something, but you start seeing it everywhere. Now, it's not like God or the universe all of a sudden said, like, oh, I don't know, they're thinking of the Maserati, like open the garage doors in the city that they're in and let out all the Maseratis all of a sudden. No, they were there the whole time. You just didn't notice them. But what happens is that I put my intention on the fact that I want that car. So the RAS, with all this data coming in, start to filter, and it will show you there's another Maserati. There's another one. There's another one. They were there the whole time. Right? I guarantee if you're driving right now, like pick out a type of car that you want to see, and I bet your RAS will filter through and show you that car. Maybe don't use the Ford Pinto one because I don't really know how many exist on the streets today. But that aside, that's pretty amazing, right? So to be very careful of where we put our intention and focus. The second thing, as I said, is belief systems. So I grew up with this saying that bad things happen in threes. You ever heard that before? Maybe it's something similar or different, I don't know. But bad things happen in threes. And so I remember growing up that one thing would go wrong. And then I'd be like, oh no, like it could be the smallest thing in the world. I stubbed my toe on a chair. And I'd be like, oh no, here we go. And so here comes number 2, here comes number 3. And then finally after number 3, you're like, whoo, thank goodness that's over. But it kind of begs the question, like, why don't bad things happen in 6s or 7s or pick the number? And that's because that's not my belief. If I believed that bad things happen in 7s, then here comes 4, 5, 6, 7, and then it'll shut off at that point. Because we tell our RAS to stop, without knowing it, to stop filtering through and showing us whatever is bad, whatever we perceive as bad. It's pretty crazy, isn't it? So there's a couple things that we teach in our programs around like this exact topic of how do we shift our perspective around what we're doing and how we're doing it, right? So one of the examples I'll throw out at you, right, is if, in my job, I sit there and I say that, I can't stand, or working in spreadsheets is the most painful thing in the world. Well, the RAS is going to filter through, and every little spreadsheet that shows up, it's going to show you the pain. It is, because it's not an emotional thing. It's not sitting there being like, oh, Matt doesn't like spreadsheets. Don't show him that spreadsheet. Let's not show it this time because he's just going to get mad or sad or upset something. So no. It just filters through and shows you. Right? If I believe that leading people is painful, here comes the pain. So part of it is we do these exercises where we dive into some of this stuff and go through it. And it's understanding thyself. It's understanding, like, when we look at our belief systems that we've set up with, that our parents have taught us, that coaches or even bosses have taught us, that we've taken on and we've started to believe ourselves. We have to start taking a step back and challenging the way we look at things and challenging some of those belief systems. So, for example, like bad things happen in threes. I don't believe that anymore. It's a made up belief that I don't even know how to wrap my head around because I don't know what's really bad. I mean, because a lot of bad things that I have had happen in my life turn out to be amazing. Right. So if I don't close a deal sometime, don't make that sale, it turns into like 3 sales later on because that door closed for a certain reason to open a new door. So maybe we should welcome bad things in our life, right? It begs the question. I don't believe it anymore. I've chosen in my life and lead my students to like challenge the things that are holding us back and start creating new belief systems that are going to propel us forward. That's what training on this stuff is all about. Same thing you can do with your people from a leadership perspective is like, what are they holding on to and how do I help shift their perspective and belief around that thing? How do I shift their intention to keep them more focused? And a story I love sharing, I've shared a lot, because this plays out every single day in what I do and how we do it. But I love this one example I'll share with you. And this is about, probably a year ago. And we had to hire a new marketing firm. Just people to help us with some LinkedIn ads and Facebook ads and all that sort of stuff. And it's even shifted since this story, but we had to let one company go and move on. And I remember after we did that, I was just like, mean, I'm sitting in my home office where I'm at right now. So this is where I'm recording. But I'm sitting here in the office and I start my little Matt Phillips pity party. And I don't know if you have pity parties, but I do sometimes. They're not very long because I've trained myself over the years, but I have pity parties. Like, woe is me. And I'm like, so I start this self-talk of like, oh my gosh, I got to find a new marketing firm or hire someone. And this is going to take forever. And I don't know anyone in marketing. And how do you find someone to trust? So I've been burned in the past a couple of times. And like, I'm going down this rabbit hole pretty quick of negativity, of doubt. For all you sales managers and leaders out there, I wonder if you've ever thought the phrase, why in the world did I sign up for this? I know I have. The reality is that leading a team of salespeople can be challenging, right? Just figuring out how to motivate each person and keep the pipeline full and just dealing with the pressure of delivering the month after month results that your company's requiring. And call me an optimist, but amidst the challenge, amidst sometimes the frustration, we have this opportunity in front of us to really impart our knowledge, right? And to leave that legacy on our team and just achieve next level results. And that's why today I want to personally invite you to our free masterclass training, where I'm going to share the exact secrets, the exact framework that I teach sales leaders around North America to help just take you to next level results for you and your team. And it's actually the exact framework that I taught one of my clients who over a 12-month period tripled organic revenue growth and increased margin by 30%. So I want to invite you to that masterclass. You can click the link below or head over to mattphillipscoaching.com/webinar. And can't wait to see you in the training. And again, I've trained myself over the years. It's something I teach my clients of like, okay, how do we stop that? And how do we start moving forward? And so I noticed it. And I literally stand up in my office. Kid you not, stand up. Nobody was home, thank goodness. So nobody was there to judge me or be like, whoa, you're weird. Because I was also talking out loud. And I said out loud, I go, Raz, called out my reticular abscess. I go, Raz, there's got to be someone I know or somebody like that either is really good at marketing or knows someone from a marketing firm. I'm just not seeing him right now. Can you go to work and show me? Like what was probably right in front of me, I just can't see it. So I said that out loud in my home office, and then I sat down. And I started working on I don't know what. I kid you not, 60 seconds later, this name pops in my head. And this is this guy named Kelly. And Kelly is one of my one-on-one clients. And he happens to be the CEO of an advertising firm. Are you kidding me? Like the guy was right in front of me and I couldn't even see him until I leveraged the power of my brain and my Raz and let it go to work and show me based on where I was putting my intention. Called Kelly, hooked me up with a couple of people, hired a marketing firm. Now I found some even better people to this day. Power of the brain. I mean, story after story that I could share with you about beliefs that I've had to overcome, challenge, and understanding leveraging the power of the Raz. Right. I have this another story. So one of our programs that we run is called like the High Performance Leadership Program, right? So you can go to the website and check it out. And it's built for, it's a 12-month leadership program built for leaders in non-sales roles, right? So we have another program called the Sales Manager Leadership Program for sales leaders and sales managers, right? So we've kind of differentiated that way. But one day, I was talking with one of my coaches and he said, you need to go up and you got to get your brain working for you. He said, you need to get in front of a whiteboard and just, nothing's wrong, but think of all the components and think outside that you've done in the past, what you want to create in the future and go to work. And I remember I went up to the co-working space. They have this massive whiteboard. It's probably 12 feet long by 6 feet high. It's like my happy place, to be honest, with a marker, a eraser, and that gigantic whiteboard. But when I walked up to it, and I spent about 3 hours up there one day just brainstorming and thinking. And the first thing I did, though, is I was like, Raz, like I'm trying to pull together these components and I want to be thinking of stuff that I thought of before that I haven't done, that we've tried, or maybe we're doing right now. Just be filtering through to show me these things as I figure out like what the next step is in the business. And this is a couple of years ago. And so I did that. And out of that one whiteboarding session, I believe because I triggered the RAS and thought outside the box and dreamed big, that's where the high performance leadership program came from. That 3-hour whiteboarding session that we've run with multiple companies right now, that's where it came from. Because we took everything that I've done and threw it together and then rearranged a bunch of stuff and just let my brain go to work. It was incredible to see it and to look back now and be like, oh my gosh, like no way I would have come up with that if I hadn't leveraged the power of my brain and my RAS. So what I want to challenge you with today on this podcast is well, first of all, I want you to fall in love with your brain because it's an incredible tool and machine that can help you in a lot of different ways. But also, I want you to start paying attention to some of the beliefs that you have. I want you to start paying attention to some of the negative self-talk that you have, because that's telling of where we're putting our focus and our intention. And I want you to start challenging some of those things, saying, is that really true? Or do I really want that? Or is that really what I'm trying to achieve? And tell your RAS to go to work for you and to show you the things that you're not looking for or that you can't see right now. And with your people too, like challenge some of their beliefs. And when you train and you start to like listen to the way that people talk, you can get insight into what they believe to be true. And you can shift their perspective. So for example, I was talking with this young hockey kid and he said, he was just off. And so I'm like, what's going on, man? And he goes, I'm playing horribly. And I'm like the entire game? Like, he said, yeah, it was all awful. I'm like, where do you think his RAS was set? On the awful. So the RAS filtered through and showed, oh, you screwed up this, you did this bad, you did this bad, you did this bad. And I said, oh, wait a minute. I said, tell me one thing that's gone right. It couldn't have been that bad, but there's got to be one thing that went right. He goes, oh yeah, well, I won this face off. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, okay, there's got to be something else then. And then he told me another thing and another thing and another thing. And I said, now I just want you to understand that you're choosing your brain to focus on that stuff when in fact, that's not true. There's some stuff you can improve upon and we'll talk about that, but understand you're doing some good things as well. So even in that short instance, I was able to shift his RAS to show him the good. And that's the power we have as leaders. We can not only shift set our own RASs, but we can set the RAS of others. And if used for good, like that's where amazing things happen. So this young athlete, we were able to start focusing on the good, which able to do another podcast on this other kind of brain and body hack you can utilize. But we're able to shift them to the positive things, the things that we're going to actually help them take action. And we were able to make corrections on the other things. Very logical, very well thought out, but it starts with shifting his perspective. And you can do that with your people as well. So that's what I wanted to chit chat with you about today. I hope you fall in love with the brain as much as I do. I mean, when I'm working with people one-on-one or in our different programs, like I said, we integrate all this mental toughness stuff. And the reality is that it's not this woo-woo stuff. I mean, it's studied, it's scientific, it's powerful, and you see it every single day. So for those of you who may think that like, oh, it's like woo-woo or well, I got to believe in, a higher power or the universe is conspiring for me or against me. I don't know, whatever you believe, like you are way more powerful than you give yourself credit for. And that power you can leverage with your people and with yourself. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So leverage it and utilize it and study it. So with that, I hope that gives you some insight into, I don't know, the cars you're going to buy or, no, I'm kidding, but the belief systems that you have and how you start paying attention for how people are talking, how you're talking to start getting next level results. So with that, thank you for your time. As always, I will invite you over to mattphillipscoaching.com/webinar. We actually have a free masterclass training that you can take advantage of where we talk through 3 things that one of my clients did to triple his organic revenue growth in 12 months. And we even talk about one of the mindset components in there because a lot of it is mindset shifts that he made to achieve those results. So head over to mattphillipscoaching.com/webinar to check that out and sign up and join us. And with that, I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. Continue crushing it. And we'll see you on the next podcast. Have a good day. Thank you for joining us today on the Matt Phillips Podcast. If you are like us, we know that you are here to do great things, to become the sales leader that makes things happen and drives big time sales results. We know you have that big vision, and we are here to help get you where you want to go. We're here to help you develop that unstoppable, rock solid leadership skill set and help you train to master the one true differentiator, mental toughness. We would love to be part of your journey. So if you are ready, head over to mattphillipscoaching.com and check out the ways that we can help. As always, please share this episode and make sure you subscribe by clicking the button below. Thank you again. And now, go crush the day.